Imagine a Christmas that doesn't feel like Christmas at all. A Christmas without the royal family. No grand Christmas trees lighting up Trafalgar Square. No royal Christmas broadcasts, bringing the monarch's warm greetings into every home. What if the festive season had never been shaped by the royals? What if the magic of Christmas, as we know it, had never existed? In this moment of reflection, you might wonder how different the world would be if it weren't for the royals' subtle touch on Christmas traditions. Today, let's explore how the British royal family not only shaped Christmas as we know it, but turned it into an iconic celebration, filled with grace, tradition, and unspoken promises. Join me as we uncover the hidden stories of royal Christmas moments, where grandeur meets vulnerability, and where personal tales became part of history's larger narrative. From stolen moments to royal broadcasts, these traditions, built by generations of the royal family, still echo through every Christmas season. Stick with me, because the royals' relationship with Christmas is far more profound and emotional than we've been led to believe. At exactly 3 minutes past the hour, Buckingham Palace released a statement. The words that followed were so unexpected, so emotionally charged, that even the most seasoned royal correspondents struggled to read them aloud. This wasn't about titles, royal protocol, or ceremonial duties. This time, the words focused on something far more intimate, far more personal: a child. The youngest royal, Prince Louis. Within seconds, televisions froze, phones buzzed, and the same question echoed across the nation. What could possibly be so serious that the palace, known for its stoic silence, broke it for him? This wasn't just another royal update, it was something far more profound. As we dive deeper into the details of what this moment truly meant for the royal family, one thing is clear: it shattered expectations and set the stage for an unfolding story that the world wasn't ready for. There had been no pre-briefings, no rumors circulating through the press, no cautious whispers behind palace walls. The announcement hit like thunder on a clear day. Sudden, brutal, its timing sharp, and its language deeply unsettling. Unlike previous royal releases, which often danced around uncomfortable truths with carefully curated vagueness, this one was raw. The statement was simple, yet the tension in its wording was palpable. Royal correspondents, usually hardened by years of carefully managed news cycles, found themselves shaken. A few stumbled on live broadcasts, unable to contain their shock. "This is not a typical statement," one anchor said, his voice faltering. "This feels human, painfully human." The term private matter might have seemed innocuous in another context, but in royal communications, where every word is crafted and weighed, it carried a different weight. The term didn't suggest inconvenience or a minor issue. It hinted at something much darker, a quiet tragedy. Even without the specifics, the nation felt the gravity of what had just been revealed. And what hadn't? What made this moment even more unsettling was its focus. This wasn't about King Charles's well-documented health challenges. It wasn't a public update on Princess Catherine's recovery, nor was it a reshuffling of royal duties or a diplomatic matter. The palace had chosen to spotlight Prince Louis, an unexpected and emotionally charged decision that disrupted royal tradition. Public reaction was swift and visceral. Social media flooded with anxious messages. Hashtags trended almost immediately. Families paused their dinner conversations, eyes glued to the screens. What had happened to the youngest heir, whose mischievous grins and cheeky smiles once made headlines? What had caused the palace to break its own silence to address him? But did you know that some of the most iconic royal traditions we now associate with Christmas weren't always this way? How did something as simple as a Christmas tree go from being a foreign tradition to becoming a centerpiece of every home? And what role did the royals play in this transformation? Stick with me, because you might be surprised by the untold stories behind these beloved customs. What if I told you that some of the royals' most famous Christmas gestures were born from unexpected moments of crisis? These stories aren't just about royal privilege, they're about humanity, family, and the deep connection between the royals and their people. Let's dive into the surprising history of Christmas, where royal moments of grace and vulnerability created traditions that still captivate us today. In homes across the United Kingdom, television sets stayed on longer than usual, their glowing screens now filled with images of the youngest prince, a boy who had become a symbol of royal innocence. But now, something had shifted, and the public felt a collective knot tighten in their stomachs. What was really going on behind those palace gates? The backdrop of recent royal instability only magnified the public's anxiety. King Charles's frailty, Princess Catherine's prolonged illness, and the monarchy's visible struggle to project calm in turbulent times had already left the nation emotionally raw. Now, with Prince Louis at the center, it felt as though the very soul of the royal family was being tested in real time, before the eyes of a concerned and watchful public. As the world fixated on what the palace had said, insiders knew the real story lay not in what was revealed, but in what was carefully avoided. Royal statements are engineered to conceal more than they reveal, one palace veteran observed. But this one carried a tremor beneath its polished surface. Royal watchers, those who knew the language of the palace well, noticed the subtle shifts in tone. The phrasing was softer, the emotional undertones more evident, and an unusual plea for privacy echoed through the statement. This wasn't just crisis management, it was damage control for something profoundly human, something personal. And behind those words, a private reality was already beginning to unravel inside the Wales household. The monarchy, historically built on cold, calculated language, had always crafted its statements to hide vulnerability. Phrases were carefully polished until they bled out any hint of human emotion. But this time, something had changed. The statement regarding Prince Louis was different. It wasn't cloaked in royal rigidity. It felt shaken. "The family appreciates the public's kindness," it read. Simple words, but for those fluent in royal dialect, it was practically a scream. The palace doesn't thank the public unless it's bracing for something serious. What deepened the concern was the lack of preparation. Senior aides, who were usually looped into every high-level release, were reportedly blindsided. No drafts, no memos, nothing. This wasn't the usual tight-lipped protocol. It was lockdown. Even the most connected palace reporters admitted they had received no advance notice, no leaks, no hints. In the royal machine, silence of that kind is rare. When it happens, it usually means something has gone terribly wrong. Reporters scrambled for context, but what they found was a disturbing absence. No sudden hospital visits, no visible incident, just a heavy, deliberate message that something was unraveling behind the scenes. Theories spiraled, whispers reached royal insiders, and the name most often heard in hushed conversations wasn't the king or Princess Catherine, but Louis. Emotional distress, withdrawing, changes in behavior. These weren't phrases typically associated with royal youth. For an institution notorious for image protection, the language now felt unguarded, revealing a vulnerability the monarchy had long shielded from the public eye. There were no euphemisms, no vague allusions to routine matters. Instead, the statement acknowledged the very thing the monarchy feared most: raw human fragility. And the decision to focus on Louis, still so young, suggested a shift in strategy. This wasn't about preserving mystique. This was about bracing the world for a deeper truth that could no longer stay buried. Insiders began to confirm what the public was starting to sense. This wasn't just a PR maneuver. This wasn't optics. Something real was breaking through the cracks of tradition. And in an institution built on silence, that kind of emotional honesty was as rare as it was terrifying. As the palace tried to contain the fallout with vague reassurances, one voice was preparing to cut through the silence, not with spin or strategy, but with a father's breaking point. And soon, the silence would break, not from advisors or officials, but from a father who could no longer hide his fear. When Prince William stepped forward, there was no podium, no script, and no shield of protocol. What followed stunned the world. This wasn't a future king speaking. It was a father standing at the edge of emotional collapse. His voice cracked. His pauses lingered too long. And in that moment, the illusion of royal invincibility fell apart forever. William began not with formality, but with silence. A silence so heavy that reporters felt the air shift around them. William had always carried himself with the composure expected of a man born into duty. But now, he stood stripped of that armor. No titles, no rehearsed words, just a trembling breath and eyes that refused to hide the pain any longer. And then came the confession. Louis had been struggling, he said quietly. And with those 4 words, the world knew this wasn't a misunderstanding or an overreaction. It was real. William spoke of long months, where days blurred together and nights were sleepless. Not because of official briefings, but because of small footsteps padding into his room. A child too scared to sleep alone. Louis, once the beacon of cheeky charm, had grown quiet, withdrawn, sometimes tearful without reason, other times angry at shadows no one else could see. The illness that had ravaged Catherine's health had shaken the family's foundation. But it was Louis, young, bright, and emotionally raw, who bore the deepest cracks. William admitted he didn't see the signs at first. He was trying to hold everything together. State duties, hospital visits, family expectations. He thought he was being strong, but strength had come at a cost. He recalled evenings when Catherine was too weak to leave her bed, and Louis would wait outside her door, silently hoping. He remembered dinners where Louis's plate remained untouched, games that went unplayed, questions that went unanswered. And the worst part, William confessed, was that he believed the silence was strength, until it wasn't. The most devastating moment came during what was supposed to be a quiet afternoon. Louis had crawled into bed beside him and asked the one question William never expected. "Is Mommy going to leave like Grandpa did?" 8 words, simple, innocent. But William couldn't answer, not because he didn't know, but because he finally realized how much fear had gripped his son's heart. That question shattered something inside him. It wasn't just about grief anymore, it was about helplessness. William admitted that it was that very moment, hearing his child confront mortality with wide, frightened eyes, that forced him and Catherine to stop everything. Schedules, silence, even their public image. Nothing else mattered. He didn't hide his guilt. "I was trying to hold the crown and my family at once," he said, "but I didn't see what was slipping between my fingers." In that raw admission, the world saw the truth. Not a prince, not a public figure, but a father, broken, remorseful, and terrified of losing more than just control. But while the nation absorbed William's words, the deepest heartbreak was unfolding quietly inside the family itself. Behind closed doors, another truth emerged, one far more painful than the headlines. Princess Charlotte, the steady presence everyone overlooked, had been carrying her brother's pain in silence. When her composure finally broke, the family realized something devastating. Prince Louis wasn't just struggling, he was slipping into emotional isolation, and his sister was breaking alongside him. For months, Charlotte had played the role no child should ever be asked to fill. While adults whispered in hallways and carefully avoided hard truths, she quietly stepped in. She became Louis's comforter, his translator, his guardian in a house wrapped in tension. Her tiny arms offered reassurance. Her soft words shielded him from the dread. Neither of them fully understood, but her silence wasn't strength. It was survival. It happened late one evening when the weight became too much. A nanny found Charlotte curled in a corner, sobbing into a pillow, whispering the words that pierced through every layer of royal poise. "He doesn't understand why she's not getting better." That sentence shattered the illusion of resilience. It was no longer about how Prince Louis was coping. It was about what Charlotte had been forced to endure just to hold him together. When the news reached Catherine, it didn't come from the press or official aides. It came in hushed tones from the very woman who had witnessed the moment of collapse. And for a mother still clawing her way through recovery, it was a revelation she wasn't prepared to face. Her daughter, her little girl, had been absorbing the sorrow of the entire family, carrying it not because she was asked to, but because she felt she had to. The Wales household, for all its attempts to maintain routine and normality, had missed the most dangerous sign. The children weren't coping. They were adapting to absence, adapting to fear, adapting to grief with no name. Louis had withdrawn completely. The boy who once exploded with laughter at breakfast, who played with toy soldiers and raced down hallways, had grown still, uninterested, unreachable. He had stopped asking when Catherine would come downstairs. He had stopped reacting when plans changed. He had stopped finding joy in the simple things that once defined his world. The silence from the adults, their endless strategy meetings, forced smiles and tiptoeing around the truth, had only taught him one thing. Something was deeply wrong, and speaking about it was somehow worse. In their attempt to shield the children from reality, the family had unknowingly given it more power. The quiet had become a monster, and it had claimed not one child, but two. The moment Charlotte broke wasn't just a cry for help. It was a warning flare, an emotional siren too loud to ignore. And then came the moment that confirmed the crisis had reached a breaking point. Prince Louis vanished from daily life. It was an ordinary weekday until Louis never arrived at school. No explanation, no follow-up, just absence. Teachers were informed privately, classmates were confused, and behind palace walls, a decision had been made that would permanently alter his childhood. The monarchy had quietly pulled its youngest royal out of public life. The withdrawal wasn't planned. It wasn't part of some long-term media strategy. It was a reaction, sudden, emotional, and fueled by fear. For weeks, Louis's behavior had concerned staff, but nothing prepared them for what happened that morning. During a seemingly routine classroom activity, a fellow student turned to him and asked, "Is your mum still sick?" The question, innocent in intention, landed like a thunderclap. According to insiders, Louis shut down on the spot. He didn't speak, didn't cry. He just stared frozen before retreating into silence. By the time he returned home that evening, something inside him had fractured. He refused dinner, refused to talk, refused to sleep. He had always been a sensitive soul, but now even his spark had dimmed. The next morning, he wouldn't get dressed, wouldn't leave his room, wouldn't speak to anyone. And that's when William and Catherine knew they had no choice. An emergency meeting was convened behind closed doors at Adelaide Cottage. Just the two of them and their most trusted senior aides. The discussion was brief, but heavy with consequences. This was no longer about preserving routine. It was about saving a child's emotional well-being before it vanished entirely. William, torn between duty and fatherhood, pushed aside protocol. Catherine, still navigating her own recovery, insisted on stepping in. No more waiting, no more appearances, no more pretending things were fine. The decision was made. Prince Louis would not return to school, not until he was ready, not until the palace could ensure his emotional safety. And there would be no press release, no statement to the media, just silence and an absence that spoke volumes. Homeschooling was arranged swiftly, overseen by professionals who understood trauma, not just curriculum. His schedule became fluid, his days stripped of structure. No uniforms, no ceremonial obligations, no pressure to perform. For the first time in modern royal history, a child's mental health had been prioritized above monarchy. But inside the palace, the mood grew tense. Advisors whispered about optics. What would the public say? What would the tabloids speculate? Would the absence create more attention than presence ever had? The Wales family didn't care. They had seen the fear in their son's eyes. They had heard his silence. And they weren't going to lose him. Not to duty, not to headlines, not to the weight of a crown. Still, the isolation came at a cost. Louis wasn't misbehaving. He was unraveling. And while pulling him from public life was a necessary shield, it wasn't a solution. Behind palace walls, concern deepened. The question now wasn't about press or tradition. It was whether the little boy they knew would ever come back. If you've enjoyed diving into the rich history of royal Christmas traditions and uncovered the surprising ways the monarchy has shaped this festive season, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. What's your favorite royal Christmas tradition? Was there a moment in history that particularly touched you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a story from the royal family. Together, let's continue to explore the traditions that make the royals and Christmas so unforgettable. Until next time, I wish you a royal holiday season full of warmth, joy, and the timeless spirit of Christmas.